Welcome to another edition of the Postgame Wrap. I'm Jarret Johnson, and man, what a huge victory for the Red Raiders Saturday morning. Number 18 Texas Tech defeated number 14 Texas in Lubbock, 68-59, and it was in front of a nationally televised, audience. It was on CBS, and man, just a big win for so many reasons. First off, let's just look at the head-to-head matchup with the Longhorns. This completes another regular season sweep for Texas Tech over UT. The Red Raiders have really dominated Texas under head coach Chris Beard. It makes 7 wins for the Red Raiders over the Longhorns in the last 8 games, which is quite a stat. And it's pretty incredible. I mean, Texas is one of the more talented teams year in and year out, but this year they're really good. They have veteran guards to go with all that size and athleticism. You know, they're number 14 in the country coming this game. Just beat Kansas in overtime, so big win for Texas Tech. I find it very strange that we consider, I think most of us in Raiderland consider this kind of the team maybe not reaching the very lofty preseason expectations for them, but they've swept both Oklahoma and Texas, 2 teams, basically in the top 15 right now. So it really paints a picture of just how competitive the Big 12 is. But hey, man, for the Red Raiders, it's huge. It evens up their conference record at 7-7, gives them the 15th victory on the season overall. This is a win that's going to go a long way towards securing a pretty good seed for Texas Tech. I mean, I think they secured, in my opinion, unless they just fall apart in the final 3 games, and they have Iowa State, TCU, and Baylor. So you're thinking at least one, on paper you're thinking 2 wins out of those 3, and then hey, you see what you can do against Baylor, who's had that long layoff, of course. But this victory you think cements Tech as probably like at worst a 6 seed, maybe a 5 or 6 seed, just depending on how the rest of the season goes. But they're man, their net rankings are very good. You have between Oklahoma and Texas, you have 4 really quality victories, and then you had that victory over LSU, which was also huge. The victory there, that comeback win. So, like I said, if you could win at least 2 of the 3 here, maybe win one, at least one in the Big 12 tournament, then Tex should be sitting pretty to make another run in March. And we know, Coach Beard, his record in March is just impeccable. I mean, whether it was at Tech, Arkansas, Little Rock, his teams do very well once they get in the tournament. So, really exciting. Let's look into this game in itself. There's 2 huge things stood out. I'll say 3 things actually stood out to me in this performance for the Red Raiders. One is just how they spread the wealth. 5 different Red Raiders scored in double figures. Mac McClung led the way. He actually didn't have his best shooting night, but he was very savvy veteran. He drew some fouls late in the shot clock at key moments when Tech really needed some scoring. He finished with 16 points. He got 6 of his points from the free throw line. He also had 4 rebounds. Next up, Terrence Shannon looked more explosive than he has in a long time. He had 3 or 4 dunks, and some of them were just tomahawks. He had 11 points, 3 rebounds. So he played well. And then 3 other Red Raiders finished with 10 points. Marcus Santos-Silva, I thought, played a tremendous game defensively, and he had 10 points and 9 rebounds. So, to me, if you're handing out a game ball, I think it goes to Marcus Santos-Silva. He did blow a layup late, which could have been costly, but it wasn't. Overall, he just played a tremendous game. And then Kyler Edwards, much maligned, and I think rightfully so. He ended up fouling out, but early on he hit he hit a couple of threes that were big. He finished with 10 points. He had a good game. I mean, I had 4 rebounds. He did some nice things out there for Texas Tech, and he didn't hesitate on his shots. And he knocked. They needed all these points, and he made some big ones for the Red Raiders. And then Kevin McCullough, he had a solid game. 10 points. Let's see here, 5 rebounds. He had a couple assists. He played well. And then another guy, he didn't score double digits, but there's a couple of guys, freshmen, that played very well. I thought Micah Peavy had one of his most all-around best games. He's had other games where he scored more, he pulled down more rebounds, but this is probably as high for assists. Mikey Peavy had 5 points, 5 rebounds, and 4 assists. And while that may not wow you, if you watched his game today, he was very under control, very poised, and he looked like he belonged out there. He looked like, honestly, a really bright future for him, the way he created for his teammates there in the paint. And then, man, he didn't play a whole lot, but Chibuzo Agbo really provided a spark for Texas Tech. He made a couple of clutch free throws late. He didn't feel like I said, he didn't finish with a lot of points, but he had 4 points. He got a nice hoop, and then he made some free throws. I played good defense. He had a nice block or defense at the rim. Really big spark late in the game when Texas Tech needed it. And Tech they went deep, and Coach Beard played practically everybody that was available. Jamarius Burton was out again with he's got a injured ligament in one of his toes or his foot, which can be very painful. So he was unavailable, but man, Coach played Avery Benson. He played the Russian Vlad Golden. He didn't play very well, but he played for a minute or two. Tyreek Smith played some. He was up and he was all over the place, but he competed hard and gave him some good minutes against those bigs for Texas. I'm missing somebody. But it seemed like everybody played. Oh, Clarence Nadolny, he is a very good perimeter defender, and he has athleticism that Tech's kind of been missing in a shifty guard. But he's also, he's added some bulk since he's been at Tech. So Nadolny definitely is valuable in terms of his defensive play, and especially when he's under control in the offensive end. And I thought he was today against Texas. So that was the big thing, was just how many guys got involved. They really spread the wealth offensively. It seemed like it was a true team performance. But then I just mentioned the defense. There was a stretch a couple of times in the second half where Texas flat out couldn't score despite their size advantage. And it was because of the vaunted suffocating defense we've come to expect from Texas Tech under Coach Chris Beard and assistant coach Mark Adams. And I feel like a lot of times, really, we haven't seen it in terms of just dominating defense. We've seen some good performances, don't get me wrong. And Tech's still a very good defensive team this year overall. But not like locked down like, oh my, this is amazing defense. This other team can't do anything. I don't want to say, I don't want anybody to shed a tear for Texas, but you almost feel bad for opposing teams when Tech is really going like that defensively, because there's just nothing you could do. And Texas felt helpless for stretches of the game against Tech, especially in the second half. And that was the first time I truly felt that way about Tech's defense this year. So that was huge. And in 3, tremendous effort. In a recent video, I think it was against Kansas, I was really shocked by the lack of effort. Now, I want to say this was the first game back from the long layoff. They had games postponed because of the COVID protocol with Baylor's issues, and then that winter storm that basically canceled life in Texas and a lot of the region in the country with this winter storm, and then the power outages in Texas. So Tech had a long time off, and it looked like it. They played like that against Kansas, and Kansas was faster to the ball, the 50-50 balls. And that was just surprising. You think you played Kansas even when Kansas is kind of down by their standards. Well, they are down by their standards. Still, you think you always get up to go play Kansas and Lawrence, and it wasn't just 1 or 2. There was at least a handful, if not more, where Kansas was faster to the ball. Well, that was not the case today with Tech against Texas. And the one shine, there were several examples of that. There's many examples of them being, street dogs, as Coach Beard likes to say, and playing out hustling Texas today. And the one play, the shining example that stands out in my mind, is Shannon diving to the floor and ripping the ball away for a key turnover late in the game. Something about when your star players just giving up his body and diving on the floor like that for a possession to win the game, it gets me going. My competitive spirit, my competitive juice is flowing. I get really happy to see that at any level, any sport, and certainly that from a Red Raider, especially after, like I said, a couple of games ago when I was disappointed, because that is what I'm used to, that toughness, that grit that people always associate with Chris Beard's teams, and that's what you saw today. It took all that to beat Texas, but you did. You swept the Longhorns again. Like I said, now you got 3 more games, and there's going to be bam, bam, bam next week. But they're winnable games. Iowa State, TCU, those are winnable games. And then Baylor, if you win the next 2 games, and you go into that Baylor game on a 3-game winning streak, with one of those being against Texas, I mean, you're feeling really good, And if you somehow manage to upset Baylor, which is possible, then look out, because then the Red Raiders are rolling into the Big 12 tournament and, of course, March Madness. So, really exciting stuff. I think this was a huge, huge win. It was a key victory. I know Mighty Joe actually predicted, Joe Yeager, that he thought Tech would upset Texas today, so which I found kind of surprising. He said in our recent podcast, Hoop Scoop podcast on Inside the Red Raiders. So, hats off to him, man. He called it, and it was huge. Such a big victory, pivotal victory at such an important time for the Red Raiders coming off that 3-game losing streak. So can't wait to see now how the rest of the season plays out. Didn't suffer a heart attack, survived another. He got really close there at the end today before the Red Raiders, they really knocked down their free throws to seal the victory and played great defense. So I can't wait to see how the rest of the season plays out. Can't wait for the next game. I want to thank you all for watching, and until next time.